Kumiko and the Shadowcatchers, Chapter 9. I need to get outside, I tell Hatsuo. If I can get outside, the dragons will do the rest. Hatsuo nods and leaves the room. When he returns, he opens the door wide and shouts, "The Grand Kage wants to see you, so stand up!" With a small wink, he unties my feet and I follow him back into the main part of the cabin. The large room seems to have transformed. Green lights hover above Shadowcatchers lined up in rows like soldiers along its walls. Outside, the lights continue on. They glow like a mass of fireflies across the clearing and throughout the trees of the forest. How could there be so many Shadowcatchers? In the centre of the room, the Grand Kage sits with a book across his knees. My stomach makes a frog leap as I realise it is the very one I was trying to get close to all along. The Book of Shadows. Hatsuo nudges me forwards, and the Grand Kage tilts his head towards me and rolls up his sleeve with an indulgent smile. One snap of his fingers and he stamps my shadow to the floor. He chuckles as it lies still like dry ink at my feet. I'm now unable to move. "I could take your powers now if I wanted to," he says lightly, "but I don't want to be too hasty. I like to make sure I do things right, and young Hatsuo here seems to think you have something important to show me outside. I don't believe him, by the way. I think he is a stupid child like you are. But please, if it is so important, you better tell me what it is." I hesitate. I can see Hatsuo squirm with anxiousness in the corner of the room, and I know I had better think of something. The Grand Kage begins to laugh, a booming laugh like someone at the mouth of a cave, and the others chime in nervously. I look out the window for a clue. Apart from the sea of Shadowcatchers, their floating green lamps and the full yellow moon, there is nothing else to see. But then I look more closely at the moon. Its full glow starts to shrink before me, and as it does, an idea begins to grow. "There is a reason," I breathe, thinking my words over, one at a time. "I see now that coming here was a mistake," I say a little louder. "But it was the dragons who made me come. If I tell you the true secret to their powers, will you promise to spare me?" The Grand Kage draws himself up and winces. "I will make no such promise," he says, "but if the information proves useful, then I would be inclined to keep you around." With another snap of his fingers, he releases my shadow. "Very well," I say with a bow. "I hold the key to the power of dragon life, but there is something you should want more than that. Something so great, it carries the power of everything on earth. The dragons know this. They draw from it when they need to, and tonight I'm sure they will, for it is happening now, and they need it to defeat you." "What is it?" the Grand Kage snaps. "What is this power?" "The Earth's shadow," I say, "but they call it a dragon moon." "An eclipse?" the Grand Kage hisses. Then to himself he murmurs, "Of course." I point towards the window. "It's happening now. If you take me outside, I can show you." A stir of whispers brews in the air until everyone is silenced by the Grand Kage rising to his feet. "Outside!" he barks, and the Shadowcatchers quickly file out of the cabin with a low rumble of excitement. A frenzy of snatching, grabbing arms drags me out beside the Grand Kage, and once I'm in the clearing, I point a shaking finger to the slowly changing moon. The black disk of the Earth's shadow closing over the moonlight excites the Grand Kage. His face fills with an expression that turns like rotting fruit into something ugly to behold. "We must seize that shadow," he calls. "We must do it now, immediately, to make our control complete. All the world's magic can be ours." Under the Grand Kage's instructions, the crowd of Shadowcatchers starts raising their hands to the moon. They chant with the whispering might of a winter wind and the unified force of a waterfall. I peer up into the empty sky. The dragons had better hurry. As the shadow closes over the moon, the Shadowcatchers start to clutch at the air as though something enormous lies beyond their straining hands. The Grand Kage opens the Book of Shadows and waits for something to happen. But nothing happens. Nothing until a string appears. A long black string begins to wriggle between his fingers. The string thickens into a rope, then a stream, then a river of shadows before I realise with dread what's happening. The Shadowcatchers are indeed stealing the Earth's shadow from the moon. In the same moment, out of the corner of my eye, I see a shimmer at the edge of the night sky. The dragons are coming. As the Shadowcatchers see the dragons, they begin to pull faster and faster at the ribbon of shadow, like weavers. The ground begins to shake. The Grand Kage laughs with triumph as everything becomes brighter, and at first, like him, I think it is because there is no more shadow left on the moon. But then I see it is the book. The book is burning with its own light, and billows of smoke are rolling off its pages. The Grand Kage stops laughing. The light swells until it is too painful to look at, and with a howl like a wounded animal, the Grand Kage lets the book fall out of his burning hands. Like a winged creature, smoking and frothing bright sparks, the book soars into the air and explodes. Chrysanthemum bursts of white light flood over the clearing as perfectly as the midday sun. From the light comes a torrent of black. A surge of fleeing shadows storm from the twisted pages of the book. They fall to the ground, running, or into the sky, flapping, and as they do, they change. The shadows become creatures, racing, prancing, and soaring. Creatures of gold and silver and colours I've never seen. Creatures with pearl horns on their heads and wings that sparkle like gold dust in the light of the broken book. A shadow larger than any before slips over the ground towards me. It begins to turn green and glisten with scales. Its eyes flash yellow, and suddenly I remember the name of my very greatest friend. I throw my arms out wide and cry, "Tomoto!"